Okay, picture this. One person's walking a red carpet in Beverly Hills, draped in designer gear, flashbulbs popping. The other, they're filming a get ready with me from their bedroom, probably still in their pajamas, talking directly to their phone. One is backed by $1 billion movie studio with a PR team crafting every word. The other, they just hit 10 million subscribers funded by brand deals and maybe some merch. So here's the $1 million question, or maybe the 10 million subscriber question: who does Gen Z trust more? If your favorite celebrity is someone your parents have probably never heard of, go ahead and hit that subscribe button for GENSHIFT. This is where we decode internet fame and the future of influence. The rise of the internet influencer. So, influencer. It's a word that's everywhere, sometimes even a punchline. But what are we talking about? At its core, an influencer is someone who's built an audience, a community, directly through the content they create and share. Think YouTube, TikTok, Instagram. They're not typically discovered by a studio or signed by a label in the old school way. Their stage is the internet, and their power comes from consistency and, crucially, a sense of relatability. They are individuals building audiences through their content, not through traditional gatekeepers. Now for Gen Z, those of you born roughly between 1997 and 2012, you grew up online. The internet wasn't a new thing you adapted to, it was just there. And so were the creators. For many of you, the relationship you have with your favorite YouTuber or TikToker can feel incredibly personal, almost like a friendship. This is what social scientists call a parasocial connection. A parasocial connection is a one-sided relationship where you invest emotional energy and time into a media figure like an influencer who realistically doesn't know you personally. They share their thoughts, their daily life, and their struggles, and it feels like you know them. It's an illusion of intimacy, but it's a powerful one. They might do a day in the life, a GRWM, that's get ready with me, for anyone not in the loop, or just chat to their camera, and it feels like they're talking directly to you. This sense of closeness is particularly potent for a generation that in some cases feels more comfortable expressing themselves online than in person. About a third of Gen Zers say this is true for them. These digital bonds can offer a real sense of community and validation, becoming a significant part of their social landscape. Think about creators like MrBeast with his insane challenges and philanthropy, or Emma Chamberlain, who pioneered the relatable lo-fi vlogging style that feels like FaceTiming a friend. Or Bretman Rock's unapologetic confidence, or Charli D'Amelio dancing her way to mega fame from her bedroom. The common thread? They often feel more like friends, or at least cool older siblings, than distant, untouchable idols. And that's key. Gen Z tends to trust creators who show the behind-the-scenes, the unpolished moments, rather than those who seem to live on a pedestal. It's about authenticity, or at least the perception of it. This demand for authenticity isn't just a casual preference. It's arguably a well-honed skill, a way to navigate a world saturated with marketing messages and carefully curated online images. Growing up immersed in this digital environment, Gen Z has become pretty sharp at spotting what feels fake. A study even found that 54% of Gen Z customers are more likely to stick with brands that show behind-the-scenes content. And a whopping 80% of Gen Z in one report said they trust recommendations from influencers who present real, authentic experiences. They value transparency. 91% of Gen Z are drawn to brands that seem genuine. This expectation for the real is pushing creators towards more vulnerable, less polished content, which in turn challenges older, more curated media aesthetics and normalizes imperfection. So does this translate into measurable trust? You bet. While numbers vary across studies, the trend is clear. For instance, one report stated that Gen Z is 2.2 times more likely to trust a brand that collaborates with creators they already follow. That's 57% than one that uses celebrity endorsements, only 26%. Another found 60% of YouTube subscribers would follow purchase advice from their favorite YouTuber over a traditional celebrity. And it's not just celebs. 63% of Gen Z and Millennials say they trust influencers more than brands themselves. Celebrity culture. Then and now. Okay, Millennials, your turn. If you were born roughly between 1981 and 1996, your formative years of celebrity culture looked pretty different. We're talking about a pre-social media dominance era, or at least its very early days. Your A-listers were figures like Angelina Jolie, Beyoncé, Brad Pitt, and Leonardo DiCaprio. You got your celebrity news from magazines like Teen People YM or Tiger Beat, and TV shows like TRL or E! News. These celebrities were often distant, glamorous, and heavily media-trained. Access was gate-kept. Trust, if you could call it that, often came from the sheer power of their brand, their ubiquity, the studio backing them, or the perceived quality of their work, not necessarily from a sense of personal connection or raw authenticity. Think about it, a movie star did an interview, and it was probably for a major magazine or a late-night talk show carefully managed. Fast forward to today. Millennials are online and engaging with social media, and many of you do follow influencers. Statistics show that about 50% of millennials follow social media influencers. But perhaps there's a different layer of engagement, maybe a bit more caution, or a different set of expectations compared to Gen Z who grew up with influencers as the norm. Some data suggests that while 36% of millennials find influencer recommendations more trustworthy than traditional ads, they might still lean on established names or a mix of sources more often than their younger counterparts. Having witnessed both the era of distant stars and the explosion of accessible creators, millennials might be developing a kind of hybrid trust model cross-referencing influencer claims with other sources or trusting influencers for niche interests while still valuing traditional endorsements for other areas. Let's imagine a scenario. Picture a Gen Z teen, let's call her Maya. She's scrolling TikTok and sees her favorite beauty YouTuber, maybe someone with 500K followers, do a get ready with me using a new indie brand's foundation. The YouTuber talks about how it feels, shows the application, and shares a discount code. Maya, trusting this creator she watches daily, buys it. After all, 32% of Gen Z make purchases based on influencer recommendations. Now picture Maya's millennial mom, Sarah. She sees a L'Oreal commercial during her favorite streaming show, starring an actress she's known and admired for years. She's more inclined to stick with that familiar brand and face. It's not that Sarah doesn't see influencers, but the established credibility of the actress and the legacy brand resonate differently. This highlights how credibility isn't a fixed concept. For Maya, it's built on perceived peer connection, while for Sarah, it might be more tied to established fame and brand history. So what feels real and what builds trust for Gen Z, as we've seen? It's often perceived as authenticity, the relatability, the feeling of a peer recommendation. They are 2.6 times more likely to consume content recommended by creators than by brand pages. For millennials, while also valuing authenticity, there might be a greater weight given to established reputation, professional polish, or long-term familiarity. It's a subtle but significant difference in how credibility is constructed. But let's be clear, neither generation is blindly trusting. Especially as influencer marketing has matured, skepticism has grown. There's even a trend called de-influencing, particularly popular with Gen Z. This is where creators tell you what not to buy, critiquing overhyped products, or calling out brands that don't live up to the buzz. Some influencers even do anti-hauls, showing products they won't purchase and why. This isn't just about saving money, it's a pushback against hyperconsumerism and a demand for even more honesty. One report shockingly stated that 84% of Gen Z consumers have lost faith in influencers. That sounds like a massive drop, but it likely points more towards a fatigue with obviously sponsored, inauthentic endorsements and a stronger desire for genuinely critical voices rather than a complete abandonment of all creators. This de-influencing trend can be seen as an audience-driven market correction. Ironically, by telling people what not to do, de-influencers themselves become highly trusted sources, proving that true, sometimes critical authenticity is the ultimate currency. So what about you? Who do you trust more for, say, a product recommendation or even life advice, a TikToker filming in their room, or a celebrity on a primetime talk show, drop a for influencer, or a for traditional celeb in the comments below? We're curious to see the split. The future of fame merging realms. The lines between internet fame and traditional stardom are getting blurrier by the day. We're seeing influencers make serious moves into mainstream entertainment. Take Addison Rae, who went from viral TikTok dances to a multi-picture deal with Netflix for films like He's All That. Or Emma Chamberlain, a YouTube pioneer who's now a regular correspondent for Vogue at the Met Gala, wearing custom designer gowns and interviewing A-listers. These creators are leveraging their digital success into traditional media power. And it's not a one-way street. Traditional celebrities are also jumping onto platforms like TikTok, trying to connect with younger audiences in a more direct, unfiltered way. Will Smith, for example, has a massive TikTok presence with over 74 million followers sharing comedic and behind-the-scenes content. Drew Barrymore uses TikTok to show her relatable, sometimes goofy side, a stark contrast to her polished movie star image, often sharing everyday moments and even her product lines in an accessible way. They're learning the new language of internet fame, adopting the perceived authenticity and direct audience engagement tactics that define successful influencers. This two-way street signifies a mutual adaptation of success strategies, a celebrification of influencers, and an influencerization of celebrities. This shift is massively impacting marketing. Brands are increasingly realizing that mega fame doesn't always equal mega sales, especially with Gen Z. There's a huge move towards collaborating with micro-influencers, creators with smaller but often more engaged and niche audiences, typically between 1,000 to 100,000 followers. Why? Because they're seen as more relatable and trustworthy. 73% of Gen Z find micro-influencers more relatable. Businesses are favoring nano-influencers, those with under 10,000 followers, and micro-influencers significantly more than celebrities for their campaigns, with 44% preferring nano and 26% preferring micro. This is where we also see the rise of the KOL, or Key Opinion Leader. KOL is a term that gained prominence especially in markets like China, and it's all about expertise. A key opinion leader is someone valued for their deep knowledge and authority in a specific field. Think a renowned scientist for a health product or a top chef for kitchenware. Their influence comes from credibility and proven expertise, not just personality or lifestyle. For brands, a KOL endorsement can lend serious legitimacy because trust is prioritized over sheer reach. This signals a maturation beyond purely lifestyle influence, suggesting a growing market for expertise-driven content that could impact fields like education, finance, and health, appealing to audiences seeking credible information over aspiration. Ultimately, for many in Gen Z, traditional fame for fame's sake doesn't hold the same allure. They're looking for a vibe they connect with real value, whether that's entertainment, information, or community, and a voice that feels authentic and speaks to their values. 67% of Gen Z are more loyal to brands that speak openly about social issues, and 59% are more likely to support a brand that shows vulnerability or admits imperfections. So, will influencers completely replace Hollywood? Probably not. It's looking more like a merger or perhaps a coexistence where both realms influence each other, creating a new hybrid form of celebrity. Traditional media still has the resources for large-scale productions, while influencers bring that niche expertise and relatability. But there's another twist: AI influencers. These are virtual computer-generated personalities like Lil Miquela, who debuted in 2016 and has amassed millions of followers, working with major brands like Prada and Chanel. Brands love the full control and potential cost efficiency, as AI influencers won't go off script or cause PR scandals. But Gen Z, they're a bit more skeptical. One study found that a third of Gen Z have a negative perception of AI influencers, finding them unsettling. And there are ethical concerns too, with 43.8% of marketing professionals worried about their impact, questioning transparency and the blurring lines between reality and fiction. It raises the question, can an algorithm truly build trust, or will these AI personas primarily serve as highly controllable brand mascots? Their success might depend on transparent presentation and whether their content offers undeniable utility or entertainment, especially in niches where human authenticity is less critical. Beyond individual creators, the entire creator economy is booming, estimated by Goldman Sachs at $250 billion and projected to double. Top creators like MrBeast are even building their own media companies, hiring mainstream professionals, and essentially creating new studios that challenge the traditional Hollywood system by owning their IP and distribution. This is a fundamental power shift in the media landscape. Conclusion. So what does all this mean for the idea of celebrity itself? It's clear the definition is expanding, becoming more democratized, more fragmented, yet in some ways more intimately connected to its audience than ever before. Fame used to be about distance, about being almost mythical. Now, for a huge chunk of the population, particularly Gen Z, fame is increasingly about connection, relatability, and a sense of shared experience or values. Whether you're captivated by a Marvel superhero on the big screen or a Minecraft streamer building worlds on YouTube, what seems to matter most isn't the size of the stage or the budget of the production. It's the voice. It's the ability to connect, to resonate, to make someone feel seen, heard, or understood. The platforms will change, the trends will evolve, and new types of stars, human or even AI, will emerge. But that fundamental human need for connection through storytelling in whatever form it takes is likely here to stay. If you find yourself trusting creators more than traditional commercials, or if you believe your favorite YouTuber truly deserves their own Netflix special show, some love by liking this video and subscribing to GENSHIFT. And hey, while you're at it, tag that one YouTuber in the comments who you think is ready for the big leagues. Who knows, maybe Netflix is watching. Thanks for tuning in.